Hi, good evening. I've got a unique one-off chance because of the early start of question time tonight to respond to question time uh, on the hoof on the night after it rather than wait till tomorrow. Question time was from Cheltenham in Gloucestershire, and when I heard that, I must say my heart sank a little, and I thought, Cheltenham, well, that will be sort of Toryish, very typical of the south of England, etc., 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 southwest. I was totally wrong. It was an excellent audience, an involved audience, an audience that cared deeply, a varied audience, an audience expressing, as Fiona Bruce, in introducing it, said right at the beginning, based on the questions, a single focus was the events of the last few days, the resignation of Liz Truss, uh, the discussion of her successor, the state and the disgraceful behaviour in the Commons of the Tory party, and the burning question, which the audience seemed almost unified on: do we need a general election now? And their answer seemed to be a massive majority for yes, we do. This was a concerned, involved audience, and they showed it. A word or two again about Fiona Bruce. I thought she was the wrong choice to chair this flagship programme. I could see nothing in her background or experience with the BBC to fit her for occupying this key flagship position of the public service broadcasters communications media. Uh, but there she is. She does not seem to have an adequate grasp of political questions and detail. She doesn't seem to have any real concept of how to control a panel. And her interventions, when they come, are either minuscule and non-interventions at a time when an intervention is most needed, and highly inappropriate at times when an intervention is the last thing that's needed. So I'll leave that to the BBC and Fiona Bruce. The panel comprised the head of the CBI, a Tory MP, Boris Johnson's sister, Fiona Bruce, of course, chairing, and the formidable Jess Phillips for Labour, and Camilla Cavendish. I tend to get the two C's mixed up with Carol Cadwalader, but this was Camilla Cavendish of the Financial Times. So Fiona Bruce launched by saying, well, all the questions submitted appear to have this central focus of the events of the last few days: the Prime Minister's resignation, the prospect of an election, the state of the Tory party, and the state of the nation, with the burning question being, should we have a general election now or another attempt to find a leader for the Tory party? The CBI guy, I suppose he was constrained, and he claimed to be constrained in showing his opinions politically, but he focused on saying that Jeremy Hunt had done a good job on stabilising the markets, which was desperately needed, and that a general election or any disruption at this time could not be tolerated if it exacerbated that situation again. And we'll come back to that because it's a bit of a central theme of mine. It's Rachel Johnson, I think I've got her first name right, Boris's sister, was delightful. And I've thought that from way back in the 2014 referendum campaigns. I had some exchanges with her, and she seemed to be a very down-to-earth, pleasant person. She may be the only one in that family of Johnsons, but there you are. That's my suspicion. But she really didn't want to pin herself to opinions and kept sort of saying, well, why am I on here? And in effect, her contribution was very sensible and stable when it was finally dragged out of her by Fiona Bruce, who insisted on pursuing it. The Tory guy, I've forgotten his name, played a straight bat, kind of guy that wouldn't readily upset anybody, kind of emollient personality, but clearly had said he'd been a Truss supporter, but at this point in time had not formulated his opinion about her successor. Fiona Bruce was unhappy about this, and I think she gave him far more space than he needed or warranted, and he didn't use it very well, and she kept coming back to him, to some degree at the expense of others. Jess Phillips was her own inimitable northern self, well informed, absolutely mordantly biting in her criticisms, didn't mince her words as she doesn't, and nobody in their right mind would lightly take on Jess in argument and not expect a very robust opponent who would punch hard. Of course, one member of the audience expected just that. There's always one who wants all our politicians to be nice to each other, examine a corporate approach, etc., etc. And, well, I understand the need for that among the squabbling, point-scoring politics. That is the very nature of democratic politics. It's about adjusting differences of deeply held opinions, political programs, policy plans, etc. So it's never going to happen that way. The government of national unity. I think the asteroid will have to be about to strike. The nuclear weapons of mass destruction will have already been launched, and the planet will be on fire before the government says, let's have a government of national unity as we're extinguished as a species. So that's not going to happen. Fiona Bruce took a straw poll of the audience, and I would say massively in favour of a general election now. Let the people speak was the motto, and something of which the politicians on the panel, or some of them, clearly didn't want, and Jess Phillips wanted for the Labour Party, and we leave aside the self-interest of a party that sees its big chance at government coming at last. Jess, I think, was, for her, relatively restrained in the pursuit of that. The audience, again, I can't pay tribute too highly to the audience, but the theme that keeps coming up again and again in the Scottish independence struggle, in Northern Ireland, and all the rest of it is, yes, things are badly wrong, we've done things badly wrong, we haven't got the right people, we haven't got the right policies, the world is going to hell in a handcart. We can't possibly do anything positive about it now. And we must use the same old people, liable to the same old failed solutions to keep going, because any form of change, anything that was new, anything that tried to steer a radically different course for the ship, it would upset the markets, it would make things worse. Well, any business that operates on that basis is going to go into receivership very, very rapidly. It's a load of nonsense. This argument is pursued by the political parties in denying Scotland its independence referendum. I have to say, regrettably, it's been used on occasion by the SNP to try and avoid any tangible, hard-edged, boundary-pushing approach to independence, which is why we're at where we're at the moment. But Nicola's hand is being forced by the very fact that if it comes an early general election, our whole planned structure, I won't say it's destroyed, this one of legal, wait for the Supreme Court, wait for the next general election in January 2025, present it as a de facto referendum, we get a majority then we'll do something. Nicola, you have to do something now. Words are not enough. Hamza coming on and saying things are bad, we have to do something, is not the same as doing something. Wishing to burn like a gem-like flame in politics is not the same thing as actually lighting and burning like a gem-like flame. So, Cheltenham, the people of Cheltenham, thank you very much. Camilla Cavendish, thank you very much. Jess Phillips, thank you very much. And Rachel Johnson, thank you very much. You lightened what was a difficult and painful programme. And Question Time still has its place. It's still a valid programme. And the BBC, attack from all sides, is the one I'm reading the big biography of the BBC that's just come out. And really, if anybody, be the Scottish nationalist or political nutcase of the right in Westminster, tries to dismantle or any way hobble this organisation, they're damn fools. They ought to look what it has done with all its vicissitudes, all its problems, and remember that this is a broadcasting organisation that is respected throughout the world. I would say, use the phrase, unfortunately, in the present context, throughout the free world. So there you are. I've had my rant, and I bid you good night. I've got to go and start doing some video editing.